let's switch gears for
This one,
absolutely the very last thing, and then we're
I
going.
don't want to deal with this Johnson matter.
Well, we are going to deal with it. It's just a
The
small
reason
bit.
is I had at least 6 first-degree murder cases in my court where she was alleged to have taken the hit out because she kept her mouth shut in consideration of the Fifth Amendment. American law has a general provision that you cannot convict somebody on the uncorroborated evidence of an accomplice. Her lieutenants got prosecuted. The person that actually contracted to take the hit didn't. And she didn't either. But if you want to talk about crack babies and crackheads, allegedly she is responsible for most of that in the Southeast United States, from Florida, Chicago, from the late 1980s to the early 1990s.
All right, so
Now,
I want to play this
she's
clip.
now in charge of pardons for Trump's administration. She's out of prison, pardoned, and most of her second lieutenants are all still doing penitentiary time. When they busted her, it was for possession of approximately $87 million in cash, for the equivalent of 9 tons of street value coke. And it was the third largest bust in DEA history at the time, now the fourth, I think. But Kim Kardashian presented it to President Trump as some poor little old grandmother trying to sell a bag of cocaine to protect her house. There were a whole lot of houses that she and her folk were in possession of that were allegedly used to launder money. So
All right,
it
so let me
was a
play this
big
clip.
time scheme, and I don't agree with what happened in this.
Let me play this clip.
To become involved in something that I didn't think it would lead to this. I've never sold drugs, I've never used drugs, and to be labeled with even a queen pin, if I was the worst one in history. But thank God that my case came to the attention of President Trump, and he had compassion on me. He was the first one who really pulled back the layers to my case to say, this is wrong. I had appealed to President Obama 3 times and been turned down all 3 times. But when it came to President Trump, he is the reason I'm sitting here today.
You got the same
To become.
So she says she never sold drugs.
I listened through 6 jury trials, first-degree murder, where we went in great detail toward what this woman did. Witness after witness, person after person who was trying to get out from under a death penalty liability for taking out contract hits.
Are you sure it was her?
Yes. Now, Kim Kardashian put this stuff out where it was just a little old lady, a grandmother. She was only 34 years old at the time, great grandmother age, so she was trying to preserve her house. We went into the whole financial background. There were homicides by her rivals. One rival was the money exchange, dope exchange for the Colombian cartels, and the other one was exchanging the money and drugs for the Mexican cartels. And this engine was driving the crack and cocaine epidemic from Miami all the way up to Chicago, to Atlanta, to Memphis, and other points. And it was hell going on in our communities. And the evidence that I heard implicated her and her rival on the other side. The thing that got in front of me that was the most profound was a sit where the other side was supposed to have had quite a few millions of dollars going through a safe house, a hit supposedly put up by her side to go raid this place. There were some people that worked for Krispy Kreme donuts who got kidnapped and stripped. The truck was hijacked. The uniforms were put on by allegedly her persons They went in, and the mother for one of the other drug lords who supposedly had the money was a big fat woman who was known to have a craving for Krispy Kreme donuts. They offered the ploy that they had free samples. She opened up the ironclad doors, let them in. They jacked her up, jacked her husband up, tied them up. They took these pneumatic chisels to dig this safe out of the concrete. They only got a few $1,000s because they missed the millions by about an hour. They kidnapped the woman, took her, tortured her, left her dead body in the middle of a farm field down in Mississippi. The person that they were target, the person who was the target of this, refused to cooperate with the police, had his organization go solve the crime, find mama's dead body. They wound up kidnapping some of her people, and allegedly her people, and they wound up not only kidnapping some of her people, they kidnapped her people's mothers, broke their mothers' legs in front of them. And while the mothers were screaming in pain, they buried them all alive under some coffins in a legit funeral, and they smothered to death. So we had cases going back and forth on each side. Her lieutenant operated a tire business that was up on airways by the 240 freeway, and they made a business of running cars outside of Memphis where they would swap the dope out from the mule cars so that they would have Memphis license plates, and Memphis would not, with their drug interdiction, interstate drug interdiction thing, bust the cars, which they got in a lot of trouble for doing with no probable cause. So there was a big mess going on.
Well,
and I had a bunch of these cases in my court. I didn't, but some of the other judges involved were getting escorted home with 5 and 6 SWAT cars every night, with 4 of them parked around their house.
All right, so I'm saying to you, you saying all this, and she is denying all that.
Yeah,
so here's the
great.
thing, because you are the same person, though, because you keep getting Tariq Nasheed and thinking that
I'm not confusing who this woman was. She came up at great length.
Every time when I mention Tariq Nasheed, you think it's
I
it's not.
confuse him with somebody else. That's because I hardly deal with either one of them. This one I had to sit. You know how long a first-degree murder case where the death penalty is demanded lasts. It isn't coming in 2 or 3 days. I had to sit there hour after hour ruling on motions of what was admissible and not. And it came in front of me, and I know what I heard, and we went over it again and again with each case. We had 6 people charged with first-degree murder for doing a contract killing that was in front of me. All right? Now, I know what I heard, and I know what was going on. I gave you the rough details of the case, and we went over that 6 times for 6 different trials. Wound up, several people pled out, several people got life in the penitentiary for this, and her lieutenants were doing 10 years and 25 years on the federal case. She was the queen pin. She even used my language, which I find interesting because she wasn't using it before. I brought that up a long time ago, so somebody spread it. She's in Memphis right now, where I presume that there are a lot of people who would like to get a hold of her and kill her for past wrongs. She has been safe.
Is she still in Memphis, or is she in D.C. now? Because she worked in D.C.
Well, she was in Memphis, so Memphis is not a safe place for her. There was violence around here.
So you saying she lying about all that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Oh, well, let's put it this way. I will allege that the evidence alleged in front of me through 6 long first-degree murder matters was very incriminating. We couldn't do anything with her, though her name was out there, because she took the advantage of the 5th Amendment and told everybody to go to hell. She had no statement. Her number one man who set the murders up or the kidnappings up took the 5th Amendment, made no statement. One clown in there was bragging to a crackhead female about his part in this whole thing. She made a deal with the narcs to turn the clown in return for some leniency sold to her case. They went and got him. He punked out and he forgot about the Fifth Amendment like Fandy did and ran his mouth off trying to talk his way out of it and incriminated everybody else. They went out and they did the bust, but the people at the top said, we take the Fifth Amendment, go to hell, we've got nothing to say. And under American law, at least as it was applied in Tennessee, you cannot convict anybody through the uncorroborated evidence of an accomplice.
Mm-hmm.
So they had no corroboration outside of the statements, and the parties accused refused to talk about it. Now, various and sundry of the people who worked under her got 10 or 25 years in the federal penitentiary as their sentences for being part of her operation. Now, Kim Kardashian, I said, came up with this tale she got from somebody who was of the personal opinion that there was no crime that could ever be committed by involvement in the sale of drugs. So she listened to him. She got this woman brought to her attention. She brought it to Trump's attention. So that's how we wound up where we are. I don't agree with it. I think this is an egregious miscarriage of justice because the evidence that was presented to me was damning. This took place 38 years ago, and it was horrible. We listened to proof, day after day of proof of all of the crackheads and crack babies that came out of these drug transactions.
All right. So let me get to this.
I don't like it.
Ira, Trump talking about subsidizing other countries and ignoring the free healthcare we pay for Israel to have. That is so true.
And all of Europe.
It's too much money still going to Israel, and it's like, why? If you're stopping subsidies from other countries, then stop it for Israel as well. I agree, Ira.
Yeah. See, here's the thing: we're charging foreign countries $12.11, let's say, for a dose of the drug. Our insurance companies are telling the government they're paying $863 per dose of the drugs. And they get mostly reimbursed by the federal government under the Affordable Care Act. So why in the world should the company be reimbursed for $863 when they can let it go for $12.11?